And our final video in this series is cancer cells. All right. As we tend to see in class, it's such a kind of sensitive area when we talk about cancer. However, at all times we look at just the scientific angle of it, as much as we know there's a very kind of human and real emotive angle around it. The main areas that you folks have to ensure that you understand, okay, is why a cell, what we class as a normal cell, can therefore change into a cancer cell. And when it changes into a cancer cell, what exactly, so what has happened for that normal cell to turn into a cancer cell? And then how does it spread? How does cancer actually spread throughout the body, okay? So when you look at my diagrams, and again, oh, right, okay, let's just be nice and patient in Mrs. Costello, because I've been no the best artist. However, number 1, number 2, number 3. So this is our process of cancer cells spreading throughout the body. So here is our normal cells, okay? So this here, the black lines, is our lymph vessels. Okay, and I know Mrs. Taylor is doing a good job in relation to explaining lymph vessels with you at the moment, talking about tissue fluid. And here is our blood vessels in red. Okay, and we're just going to kid on that we don't see that they get different in every diagram. Anyway, so the whole fact is that our blood cells obviously have, as you know from the work you're doing with Mrs. Taylor at the moment, high degree of different types of blood vessels, because the importance is that there's nutrients within the blood that has to be fed to the cell, okay? And vice versa. So nutrients go into the cell and waste is removed from the cell, travels through the blood and is excreted from the body in one way or another, okay? However, what happens is normal cells turn into cancer cells, okay, because there is regulatory signals not working properly. So think about when we're talking about mitosis. So when we talk about the process of mitosis, what happens is that cell goes through a period of division and it creates a clone, an exact identical cell to itself, okay? Every cell has basically a shelf life. It can only divide a certain number of times. So this is classed as a Hayflick's limit. Again, out with your SQA requirements, but it's good to have a wee bit of kind of background to it. Hayflick's is just the scientist that discovered this process, okay? So essentially what happens is the regulatory signals is that when that cell has hit its shelf life, the max number of times it's allowed to divide, okay, it should go through the process of apoptosis. And we talked about apoptosis last year when we looked at immunology. So that is a process of what, you know, the basic way of saying it is cell suicide. So that cell goes through a process where it basically kills itself, okay? It's no longer a viable cell as such. However, in cancer, cells don't do that. What happens is they don't listen to these regulatory signals, don't go through apoptosis, okay? And what they do is they keep on dividing and they keep on dividing and they keep on dividing. But because it's not going through the regulatory signals, the cell is basically mutated. Okay, and because it keeps on dividing, okay, so it divides excessively, it becomes a large and what we know as a tumour. Okay, so a mass of abnormal cells starts growing. And if this, so say it's skin cancer, and this is our skin, so all of the different types of layers, tissues of the skin. And what happens is this is when people start feeling, they might feel a lump under their skin because there is a tumour, there is a mass of abnormal cells growing, okay? And unfortunately what happens is sometimes, not every time, but sometimes what happens is these individual cells within a tumour should basically attach to each other. But what happens is sometimes they do not attach. Okay, and what happens is the cells start spreading through the body, okay? And then, as we know, okay, so it says a growth of new blood vessels. There's new blood vessels been growing all the time, okay? What happens is, whether it's through the lymph vessels, okay, whether it's through the blood vessels or not, these individual cells will start travelling through the body, okay? And then it will stay, the cells will stay, but because these cells are still the exact same mutated cells and do not have these normal regulatory signals, they start growing again at that second area of the body, okay? So the secondary tumour therefore forms. This continues, okay? So the primary tumour continues to grow, and then there's a secondary tumour that grows as well, okay? So 2 main areas. This is the most important thing. How does a normal cell go to a cancer cell? It's not responding to the regulatory, so it's been regulated in a way to make sure that after it divides a certain number of times, it should go through to apoptosis, but it's not, okay? So this is just one simple thing you need to remember. It does not respond to regulatory signals, and because it doesn't respond to regulatory signals, it creates a tumour, which is a mass of abnormal cells. And the final part is that it can spread, okay, because these individual cells in the tumour do not attach to each other, okay, and they spread through the vessels of the body.